Okay, so I hope everyone is here. So the next subject that we are going to look for is ENT. So ENT is ear, nose and throat. So ear is about almost 60 to 70, almost 70% of your questions is going to come from ear. So if you don't have time at the last moment in ENT, if you focus only on the ear, you're going to make through this topic. So if they ask hardly, I think 10 questions are expected from ENT. So if they ask 10 questions, at least 7 is going to be from the ear alone. So focusing on the ear, the key points just for the exam should be fine enough for cracking these MCQs. So we can start with ear anatomy and physiology. Is everyone here? Can you all hear me clearly? Okay. So first we'll be looking at the anatomy part of the ear. So this was a very old pattern MCQ. I don't think so you'll be getting a question from this, just to read out. So it has there's an outer part, there's a middle part and an inner part in the ear. So the outer part has a pinna and auditory canal, external auditory meatus, which goes till almost the tympanic membrane. So from the tympanic membrane, the ossicles is going to make out the middle ear. So after the ossicle, whatever is inside, it's going to be the inner ear. So the inner ear contains something called the labyrinth, which is bony and membranous. Along with that, there's something called the cochlea, BMC, bony, membranous and cochlea. Bony labyrinth, membranous labyrinth and cochlea. I repeat, outer membrane means pinna till the external auditory canal. Middle means the ossicle, that is the malleus incus stapes. Inner means the bony and membranous, and then the cochlea, BMC. So these are the 3 points that you need to know. This was very old pattern question. I don't think so it'll be a question from here. So just look at the ear picture so that when we discuss the points, you don't get stuck up anywhere. So here's a picture of a ear. This is the pinna here, that is the outside. So this portion is the external auditory meatus or the external auditory canal. So this ends up in a tympanic membrane. So this tympanic membrane is very prone for getting perforation if because of any louder voice or those who do instrumentation in their ear. And then that would after that the sound would be transferred to malleus incus and stapes. So after that it enters the inner ear portion. So this part, only this part is going to be the middle ear. Only this part is going to be the middle ear. Okay, so the inner ear contains a semicircular canal over here, and then an endolymphatic duct over here, and then the utricles and saccules over here. So inside them is a scala tympani. This portion is called a scala tympani. And then there's a tympanic cavity which is preceded in the middle ear. So inner ear has scala tympani, saccules, and then the duct is called, from the tympanic cavity continues as a duct. So the duct is called as cochlear duct. So below these portions, all these portions, is the ICA. Okay. Okay. Again, those are not MCQs, just for you to know. So we will focus on MCQ purposes only. Now, here is where you need to start studying for the MCQs. So in the anatomy, I think these parts are very important. One is external ear. External ears is avascular, is a very important MCQ. It derives nutrition from the perichondrium. So the stripping of the perichondrium from the cartilage is called as a Boxer's ear. So in boxers, during the injury, the stripping happens of the perichondrium from the cartilage. Okay, then incisura terminalis lacks cartilage. That is an important MCQ. Then external acoustic meatus, if you see, the important MCQ is it is derived from the first branchial arch or first branchial cleft or groove. Then this consists of outer 1/3 cartilaginous part and inner 2/3 bony part. Outer 1/3 cartilaginous part and inner 1/3 bony part. The fissure present in outer 1/3 cartilaginous part is called as fissure of Santorini, and there's a foramen which is present in the inner 2/3 bony part, that's called as foramen of Hashke. So in this entire table, I would say these all points would matter a lot in your MCQ. Then comes the middle ear cleft. As long as middle ear cleft is concerned, the important point here is the epitympanum, which is the widest part. The epitympanum, which is the widest part. The narrowest part is going to be the mesotympanum. The protympanum is the portion of middle ear around the tympanic orifice of eustachian tube. But for MCQ, you need to remember epitympanum is the widest part. And then the second important point is the tensor tympani. It is attached to the handle of the malleolus. Tensor tympani is attached to the handle of the malleolus. So this is pulled to reduce the force of vibration. So whenever there is a wide noise, this tensor tympani is going to act. Okay. Then stapedius is inserted to the neck of stapes. Stapedius is inserted to the neck of stapes. So you need to know which muscle is attached to what. So stapedius is inserted to the neck of stapes. Okay. Then comes the lenticular process of the incus, which is a sesamoid bone considered to be the forecarsical. So those points are not important. You need to remember stapedius is the smallest muscle. So stapedius is inserted to the neck of stapes. Tensor tympani is to the handle of mandible. Epitympanum is the widest part. These 3 points, if you remember, that should be fine enough for your exam. Okay. Next comes the tympanic membrane. So tympanic membrane means the important point here is tympanic membrane has something called a Sharpner's membrane, which allows a shallow recess posteriorly called as Prussack space. So you need to know Sharpner membrane, Prussack space. Sharpner's membrane has a recess that is called as Prussack space. Tympanic membrane means Sharpner membrane and Prussack space. This word you need to know.